Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thanks, Becca. And thanks, everyone, for joining. Welcome to the Learn with the Lords event to draw the Private Members Bill Ballot for the 2021 to 22 parliamentary session. My name is Olivia, as Becca said, and I work in the House of Lords Legislation Office. I've worked in the House of Lords for a number of years. I've done various roles. I used to work with select committees, so helping select committees hold the government to account. And now I work in the legislation office. So what that means is in my day-to-day role, I work with and advise members of the Lords on legislative procedure. So this includes things like drafting amendments, helping draft private members' bills, and providing briefings for proceedings in the chamber. Today, we're going to be talking about bills, private members' bills, and then, as Becca said, we'll run into the private members' bill ballot. So just go through the running order for today. We'll start off with a little quiz to test some of your knowledge about the House of Lords and Parliament, and then we'll discuss what parliamentary bills are, specifically what private members' bills are, and then at about 11:15, so in 13 minutes, I'll draw the private members bill ballot. So if there are any members or member staff on the call, the ballot's going to begin in about 15 minutes. So do feel free to log back on then. You're also very welcome to stay for this presentation. So we'll start off with the quiz, and this is just going to test your knowledge of Parliament and of the House of Lords. I'll read out the questions and the options, and then I'll give you about 30 seconds per question to think of the answer. I'll let you know when there's 10 seconds left on each question. So we'll begin with the first question. Which of these is not a difference between the House of Lords and the House of Commons? Is it A, the House of Lords is appointed, whereas the House of Commons is elected? B, members of the Lords have to wear wigs and robes to speak, but the Commons do not? Or is it C, the House of Commons has fewer members than the House of Lords? So which of these isn't a difference between the House of Lords and the House of Commons? And I'll give you about 30 seconds to discuss that and to figure out your answer. All right, I think we've got about 10 seconds left. So which of these isn't a difference between the House of Lords and the House of Commons? I'll show you the answer in 3, 2, 1. It was B. So the House of Lords is appointed and the House of Commons is elected. The House of Commons is smaller in size than the House of Lords, but members of the Lords don't have to wear wigs and robes to speak, and neither do MPs in the House of Commons. So let's move on to the second question. How many members currently have a seat in the House of Lords? Is it A? Oh, sorry, I'm just getting a little bit of feedback. Because everyone just make sure that they're on mute, please? Thank you. So how many members currently have a seat in the House of Lords? Is it A, 589, B, 689, C, 789, or D, 889? Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds starting now. How many members currently have a seat in the House of Lords? I'll give you 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. It was C. There are 789 members who currently have a seat in the House of Lords. And just for information, there's 650 MPs in the House of Commons. So you can see the House of Lords is bigger in size than the House of Commons. All right, final question on this quiz. Which of these is a role of Parliament? Is it A, to make and change laws, B, to check and challenge the work of government, or C, to debate the important issues of the day? So I'll give you 30 seconds to figure out which of these is a role of Parliament. All right, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. I'm sorry, it was a trick question. All of these are roles of Parliament. So it's Parliament's role to make and change laws, to check and to challenge the work of government, and to debate the important issues of the day. So all three are roles of Parliament, and some of you might have noticed that already. Right, so we're done with the quiz now, and we're going to start to talk about bills. If everyone could just make sure that they're on mute, just getting a little bit of feedback. So we'll start off by talking what are bills. So bills are proposals for new laws or plans to change existing laws. They're presented for debate before Parliament, and they're one of the main ways that Parliament fulfills that role of making or changing the law. So that first role that was on the last question of the quiz. So bills have to pass through both houses of Parliament and get the seal of approval from the Queen before they become acts of Parliament and the law. So that means that if bills are passed, they become the law. So we can think of bills as draft laws. So it's really important to keep that in mind, that bills are draft laws. Let's think about how bills actually are passed through the houses, though. So I said bills have to be passed through both houses, both the House of Lords and the House of Commons, to become law. Let's take, for example, if a bill's introduced in the House of Lords first. So a bill's introduced into the House of Lords. It goes through various stages of scrutiny in the House of Lords, and that scrutiny looks slightly different at different stages. So there's stages for members of the Lords to debate the general policy and principles of the bill. There are stages where members can make detailed changes to the bill and where they can scrutinise the bill line by line. In total, there's 5 stages that bills go through in the Lords. Once it goes through all those 5 stages and the Lords are happy, it then passes on to the Commons, where it goes through even further scrutiny in the Commons, and it goes through very similar stages in the House of Commons too. So once the Commons have agreed the bill, it's gone through all its stages in the Lords, passed to the Commons, gone through all its stages in the Commons, they're happy with the text. If the Commons have then made any changes to the bill that the Lords haven't considered, these changes will then go back to the Lords, and then the two houses have to resolve any differences before the bill can become law. So it's quite common for bills to pass back and forth between the two houses a few times before both houses can agree on a text that they're happy with. The bill is then formally agreed to by the monarch, so the Queen, in what's called royal assent, and then it can become law. So that's the stages of bills and how they're passed. So let's think about different types of bills. So the first and most common type of bill are what's called public bills. And these are bills that are introduced by the government and they apply to the general population. So the government says, we're going to introduce a bill to change the policy on something. They present a bill to make that change in Parliament, and then Parliament then scrutinises it using all those stages that we just talked about. An example of a recent public bill that's become law is the Domestic Abuse Act. When it was going through Parliament, it was called the Domestic Abuse Bill, and that passed earlier this year. We then have what's called private members bills, which is, of course, the reason why we're all here today. And it can be a little bit confusing because even though they're called private members bills, they're still a type of public bill because they apply to the general population. The difference between a private members bill and a sort of standard public bill is that private members bills are put forward by individual members of the Lords or MPs rather than being put forward by the government. We then have what's called private bills and hybrid bills. And I think don't worry too much about these because they're not really common, but just for completeness, these are another type of bill. So private bills are where the law applies to a particular individual or a group of individual or a corporate entity. An example is the Highgate Cemetery Bill that's currently before Parliament, which affects those who have an interest in Highgate Cemetery in London rather than the population as a whole. A hybrid bill has characteristics of both a public bill and a private bill, which can be a little bit confusing, but that means that usually it applies to the general population, but it particularly affects a certain group of individuals. And an example of a hybrid bill is the HS2 bill, West Midlands to Crewe line. So that is obviously a large public infrastructure project, requires the raising of public funds, so public spending, but it will affect those who live near to or where the track is being placed more than it would the general population of the UK. So they're different types of bills, and just to know that bills can originate in different places. So we'll zoom in a bit on private members' bills because that's what we're talking about today. So as we said, they're bills that are put forward by an individual MP or a member of the Lords. And their purpose is to change the law or to create new law as it applies to the general public. So remember, despite being called private members' bills, they're not the same as private bills. They have to go through both houses and have detailed scrutiny in both houses, just like any other bill. And I think it's fair to say that a minority of private members' bills are passed, but even the introduction of a private members' bill can create publicity around an issue, can put some pressure on the government, and so can influence policy in that way. So it's a really good way for individual MPs or members of the Lords to raise an issue up on the agenda. I'll give you some examples of private members' bills so you can see how varied they can be and the sorts of things that they can cover. One example that was introduced in the previous session was the Schools Mental Health and Wellbeing Bill. And that was a bill that sought to help schools to promote the mental health and well-being of their pupils. So that was a bill that was introduced last session. Another bill that was introduced in the last session was the Cosmetic Surgery Standards Bill. And that was looking at standards of cosmetic surgery, about putting those medical practitioners who specialize in cosmetic surgery on the register for medical practitioners. So it was about sort of improving the safety of cosmetic surgery procedures. And then the third example on this slide is a private members bill that was successful and became an act of parliament, so became the law. And this was the Animal Welfare Service Animals Act that became law in 2019. It's also known as Finn's Law. Some of you might have heard of this in the news. So this was a private members bill that was introduced in the Commons. So it was introduced by an MP, and it provided animals in public services like police dogs, police horses with greater protection. So the name Finn's Law comes from Finn, who was a police dog who was attacked while assisting a police officer. So that bill was successful and is now law. I'll just speak very, very quickly about the Private Members Bill Ballot, which of course is why we're all here. And I'll quickly explain what's going to happen now. So I'll just tilt my camera down a little bit. In this red box here, I have all the bills that have been introduced by members of the Lords, that haven't been introduced, that members of the Lords have put forward into the ballot. What's going to happen is I'm going to draw 25 bills from this ballot, and those 25 bills will then be introduced in the order that they're selected. There are lots of members who signed up this year who entered a bill into the ballot. So I'm sure there's lots of members who will be waiting for eagerly to hear the results. I just did want to say a big thank you to all the members who maybe did join at 11 and have been waiting very patiently for this moment. And as a thank you to all the schools for signing up for this event, we're going to draw out the bills, the 25 bills, on behalf of 25 schools who signed up for this event. So I will stop presenting now, and I think Becca's going to spotlight me. And then it's 11:15, so we'll get going with the ballot. I'm sorry, if all members and all everyone could just keep their microphones and cameras off, please, because this session is being recorded. That would be very helpful. Great. So I'll start off. So the first bill to be selected in the Private Members Bill ballot, and this is being selected on behalf of St Brendan's sixth form in Bristol in the southwest. So hello to all the students of St Brendan's who might be on the call this morning. And if I could just remind everyone to keep their cameras off and keep their microphones off, that would be really helpful. So the first bill is going to be, it's Lord Bird's Wellbeing of Future Generations Bill. So the first bill in the 21-22 parliamentary session, the first private members bill to be selected in the ballot was Lord Bird's bill. And that was on behalf of St Brendan's sixth form in Bristol in the southwest. The second bill I'm selecting on behalf of the Dukeries Academy in Ollerton, Nottinghamshire in the East Midlands. And the second bill that's going to be selected is Baroness Kramer, Office of the Whistleblower Bill. So the second bill is Baroness Kramer, Office of the Whistleblower Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of the Dukeries Academy in Ollerton, Nottinghamshire in the East Midlands. I'm going to draw the third bill, and this is on behalf of Coleg Cambria Yale in Wrexham in Wales. And the third bill is going to be, get that one, Lord Story, Higher Education Cheating Services Prohibition Bill. So the third bill on behalf of Coleg Cambria Yale is Lord Story's Higher Education Cheating Services Prohibition Bill. The fourth bill on behalf of Millfield Senior School in Somerset in the southwest is going to be Lord Lilly, Elderly Social Care Insurance Bill. So the fourth bill selected in the ballot is Lord Lilly, Elderly Social Care Insurance Bill. And that was drawn on behalf of Millfield Senior School in Somerset. The fifth bill being introduced on behalf of, being selected on behalf of Formby High School in Merseyside in the northwest is going to be Lord Hunt of King's Heath, Organ Tourism and Cadavers on Display Bill. So that was the fifth bill, is going to be Lord Hunt of King's Heath's bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Formby High School in Merseyside. The sixth bill, drawn on behalf of St Thomas Aquinas School in Glasgow, is going to be, you can just get one, Lord Knight of Weymouth, Education, Environment and Sustainable Citizenship Bill. So that was the sixth bill, is going to be Lord Knight of Weymouth's bill, Education, Environment and Sustainable Citizenship Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of St Thomas Aquinas School in Glasgow. The seventh bill, drawn on behalf of Harris Academy Chafford 100 in Grays in the east of England, is going to be Baroness Meacher, Assisted Dying Bill. So the seventh bill is Baroness Meacher's bill, Assisted Dying Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Harris Academy Chafford 100 in Grays. Excuse me. The eighth bill, and this is going to be drawn on behalf of Haberdashers Adams Grammar School in Shropshire in the West Midlands. So the eighth bill is going to be Lord Hendy, Status of Workers Bill. So this is the eighth bill, is going to be Lord Hendy, Status of Workers Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Haberdashers Adams Grammar School in Shropshire in the West Midlands. The ninth bill, drawn on behalf of the Bedford Sixth Form in the east of England, is going to be Baroness Burt of Solihull, Education Assemblies Bill. So this is the ninth bill, is going to be Baroness Burt of Solihull, Education Assemblies Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of the Bedford Sixth Form in the east of England. The 10th bill, on behalf of Wigston College in Wigston in Leicestershire in the East Midlands, is going to be Baroness Kidron, Age Assurance Minimum Standards Bill. So that's the 10th bill, is going to be Baroness Kidron's Age Assurance Minimum Standards Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Wigston College in Wigston in Leicestershire. The 11th bill, being drawn on behalf of Bridgend College in Wales, is going to be, shuffle these around a bit, Lord Grocott, House of Lords Hereditary Peers, Abolition of By-Elections Bill. So that was the 11th bill, is going to be Lord Grocott's House of Lords Hereditary Peers Abolition of By-Elections Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Bridgend College in Wales. The 12th bill, so we're nearly at the halfway mark, being drawn on behalf of Sandbach School in the Northwest, is going to be, this is the 12th bill, that's going to be the Duke of Wellington Sewage Inland Waters Bill. So the 12th bill is going to be the Duke of Wellington Sewage Inland Waters Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Sandbach School in the Northwest. The 13th bill, drawn on behalf of Park High School, Harrow in London, is going to be Baroness Ludford Refugees Family Reunion Bill. So that was the 13th bill, is going to be Baroness Ludford's Refugees Family Reunion Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Park High School, Harrow in London. The 14th bill, and we're over halfway now, the 14th bill is going to be drawn on behalf of Sacred Heart Grammar School in County Down in Northern Ireland. And the 14th bill is going to be Baroness Hayman Onshore Wind Bill. So the 14th bill is Baroness Hayman Onshore Wind Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Sacred Heart Grammar School in County Down in Northern Ireland. The 15th bill, drawn on behalf of Malmesbury School in Wiltshire in the southwest, is going to be the Bishop of St Albans Coroner's Determination of Suicide Bill. So that was the 15th bill, is going to be the Bishop of St Albans' bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Malmesbury School in Wiltshire in the southwest. The 16th bill is going to be drawn on behalf of Rainford High School in St Helens in the northwest, and the 16th bill is going to be Lord Morrow Digital Economy Act 2017 Commencement of Part 3 Bill. So the 16th bill is going to be Lord Morrow's Digital Economy Act 2017 Commencement of Part 3 Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Rainford High School in St Helens in the northwest. Bear with me, the 17th bill is going to be drawn on behalf of Hall Cross Academy in Doncaster in Yorkshire and the Humber, and the 17th bill is going to be Lord Randall of Uxbridge Game Birds Cage Breeding Bill. So the 17th bill will be Lord Randall of Uxbridge's Game Birds Cage Breeding Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Hall Cross Academy, Doncaster in Yorkshire and the Humber. The 18th bill is going to be drawn on behalf of Southend City College, Birmingham in the West Midlands. So the 18th bill is going to be, just check, I've got one here, yep. The 18th bill is going to be Lord Adonis's Representation of the People, Young People's Enfranchisement Bill. So the 18th bill will be Lord Adonis's Representation of the People, Young People's Enfranchisement Bill. That was drawn on behalf of Southend City College, Birmingham in the West Midlands. The 19th bill, being drawn on behalf of Skipton Girls High School in Yorkshire and the Humber, is going to be Lord Young of Cookham, Cigarette Stick Health Warnings Bill. So the 19th bill is going to be Lord Young of Cookham's Cigarette Stick Health Warnings Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Skipton Girls High School in Yorkshire and the Humber. The 20th bill, being drawn on behalf of Yarm School in Yarm in the North East, is going to be Lord Hodgson of Astley Abbott's Office for Demographic Change Bill. So the 20th bill will be Lord Hodgson of Astley Abbott's Office for Demographic Change Bill. And that was drawn on behalf of Yarm School in Yarm in the North East. We're on to the last 5 now. The 21st bill, being drawn on behalf of Homer Green School in Buckinghamshire in the South East, is going to be Lord Delakia Age of Criminal Responsibility Bill. So the 21st bill will be Lord Delakia's Age of Criminal Responsibility Bill. And that was drawn on behalf of Homer Green School in Buckinghamshire in the South East. The 22nd bill, drawn on behalf of Durham University International Study Centre in the North East, is going to be Lord Alton of Liverpool Modern Slavery Amendment Bill. So the 22nd bill is going to be Lord Alton of Liverpool's Modern Slavery Amendment Bill. And that was drawn on behalf of Durham University International Study Centre in the North East. The 23rd bill, being drawn on behalf of St Albans Girls' School in the South East, is going to be Lord Fowkes of Cumnock Digital Economy Act 2017 Amendment Bill. So the 23rd bill is going to be Lord Fowkes of Cumnock's Digital Economy Act 2017 Amendment Bill. And that was drawn on behalf of St Albans Girls' School in the South East. Final 2, so the 24th bill, being drawn on behalf of Shooters Hill Sixth Form in Greenwich in London, is going to be Lord Farmer Front-Loaded Child Benefit Bill. So the 24th bill is going to be Lord Farmer's Front-Loaded Child Benefit Bill, and that was drawn on behalf of Shooters Hill Sixth Form in Greenwich in London. And the 25th and the final bill being drawn in this parliamentary session's Private Members Bill Ballot for the House of Lords is going to be drawn on behalf of Rockport School in County Down in Northern Ireland. And the 25th and final bill is going to be Lord Purvis of Tweed Constitutional Convention Bill. So the 25th bill will be Lord Purvis of Tweed's Constitutional Convention Bill. And that bill was drawn on behalf of Rockport School in County Down in Northern Ireland. That was the final bill to be selected in the ballot. I went a little bit quicker than I thought we were expecting, but we'll be posting the results very shortly on both the internet and the parliamentary intranet. We'll also shortly email all members who entered the bill with the results, and then we'll follow up this afternoon with those 25 members who have been successful in the ballot. Big thanks again to everyone for joining this morning. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you might have learned something. I'm now going to pass back to Becca and I will stop talking.
Thank you so much, Olivia. What an exciting session. So it was such a good experience for all of the students watching to see a bit of parliamentary procedure in action. So thank you so much to you for giving up your time to do this. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much for joining, guys, and for joining the call today. So teachers, just so you're aware of next steps, you'll receive an email this afternoon with a link to the recording of this session. So if any students have missed it, you can pass it on to them. Within that email will be a link to our survey as well, just so you can help us develop our future events and our programmes. And we will also send you a link to our parliamentary website where you'll be able to see all of the 25 bills that were selected in today's ballot. And then as they're introduced to the House, you'll be able to go on and follow the progress of your bills that were selected, which is really, really exciting. So do follow us at UK Parl Education for all future events and sessions that we're going to be running. Loads of exciting opportunities coming up, particularly in September. So make sure you do that. And also you can check our website for more details of things that are coming up. So thank you all so much for joining us, guys. It was a real pleasure. And thank you again, Olivia, for that fantastic session today.